It's the question that drives us here. It's the question that brought you here. You know the question, just as I did.
What is the Matrix?
The answer is out there, Neo. It's looking for you. And it will find you if you want it to.
Hello, my name is FutureMan19, and in these series of videos I will be proving the existence of a creator-creation relationship using only science, logic, and mathematics. This feat has never been accomplished before, but I feel like it is time for everyone to know the full truth that can be found all around us, that is inside of you, and that's a part of everything else. One of the greatest truths that I have ever learned and applied in my life is a quote from the great Galileo. Galileo was known as one of the greatest teachers of all time and is considered by many to be the father of modern physics, the father of the scientific method, and even the father of all science. He said that you cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. In these series of videos, I'm not going to teach you anything, because it is always up to the observer to learn the truths for themselves. And deep down, you already know what is true and what is not. It has simply been forgotten, and I am only here to help you remember. What I am going to be doing in these series of videos will be very revealing about the inherent structure and makeup of the world that we live in. These videos may upset you. They might even shake you to your core, because this information has been deemed forbidden knowledge and kept away from those who have no faith to see. It has long been believed that this information is reserved for only those who have been initiated or are illuminated. This is where a lot of theology and ideology of secret societies play out, and why they have had a stranglehold on our free will and power over us all these years. They believe that this higher knowledge was only meant for them, and it is why they have made us fear it. But I believe that this knowledge was imparted to us by higher sources of consciousness, and it was meant to be shared with everyone freely. But the elite of this world, who have a superiority complex, posed themselves as God's only chosen, and believed that they must defend this knowledge at all costs, even taking an oath of death if they were to reveal it. So why am I revealing it? Because I believe that this new age of enlightenment, where all information should and can freely flow, this has all been planned and prophesied from the very beginning, from people who were awake and aware enough to be able to predict the future, where they believed that the truth would be shouted from our rooftops and the shadows would flee to their corners by the bright light of illumination. Now is the time for knowledge to freely flow and for mankind to abandon their shackles and replace them with collaboration, and we will finally watch mankind rise to its own potential. I am only the messenger here. Whether this teaches you anything is entirely up to you, and you don't have to take my word for it. I gladly challenge each and every one of you to do your own research and to come up with your own conclusions, because you are ultimately responsible over your own life and the choices that you make in it. Our experiences and choices are all that we have in the end, so I will not be telling you what to do, nor should anyone else be. This is the very first important truth that you must learn for yourself. There will always be a lot of spirituality and metaphysics mixed in here, because when you begin to see how the world works and how the universe works together, you will realize that everything is connected, from the microcosm to the macrocosm, to the infinitely small molecule to the infinitely large and wonderful universe. Nature itself is inherently connected to everything else. Plants need CO2 to survive. Mammals breathe out CO2 and take in oxygen. Plants produce this oxygen. Circle of life, right? And if you took human beings off of this planet and only observed nature entirely on its own, you would see everything living in perfect harmony and balance, where there wouldn't be these mass extinctions of plants and animals as we know it today because of our own human intervention. This is the way it should be. This is the natural order of the world. Nature and humanity should be working together. where we could live in a life where there wouldn't be diseases or pollution or war. These are the result of our imbalanced way of living. Life was here on Earth for millions of years before we came and destroyed it. And if you really think about it, we have much more in common with a virus than we do with nature. Just try to look at us from a top-down perspective. We are destroying this world and there's no denying it anymore. Our humanity has spread to almost every part of the earth, and nature has suffered every time from our presence of being there. I always think of our roads as the cancer of the planet, spreading like this nature-killing virus to all parts of the world, where we are bent on turning everything natural into artificial. We are even attempting to make our own artificial sun. So when does this madness stop? How can we be considered evolved when we act like an anomaly to our very own creator? And it's all because we have been given this free will. This is a creative force that can be used for destruction, or like our own creator, for creation, creating things that hopefully benefit ourselves and the world around us. Animals are not like us. They won't be greedy to the point where they have overconsumed each other to the brink of extinction. A balance can always be found in nature if you only know how to look for it. And animals would not be destroying their environment, their very own home, for a few more dollars in profit, a few more seashells to collect, so to speak. And unless something out of their control came to destroy them, like a random meteor from outer space, they would live forever in perfect unity and harmony together. Animals also have a two-dimensional consciousness, where they don't have a duality like we see here in 3D. They can't see themselves as separate from the rest. They don't have an I. They can't ask themselves, am I a donkey? They don't have this opportunity to decide who or what they are. They just are, and they are always content and accept what they are. This is something we can actually learn a lot from the animals. So this begs the question, why are we here? Did we really evolve from nature, which seems to be so different from us? Were we put here for a reason? Or is this all just random chaotic chance, nature playing with dice? Because if we really evolved from nature itself, then why does nature follow this perfect rhythm of anonymity, while we so-called evolved humans counteract nature's perfect flow of synergy? Why we are seemingly so out of place in this otherwise perfectly harmonic world? It wouldn't make sense that nature follows a perfect pattern of existence, while us humans seem to go against everything natural to follow a more artificial way of living. By the end of this video series, all of your questions of why are we here, where did we come from, and is there a God? And if there is there a heaven as well? Will hopefully be answered. But keep in mind, no one can ever make you believe in the existence of a God or a higher power, or that we are here for a purpose. That is entirely up to you, the observer, to decide on your own. And that's the beauty of quantum reality. Because ultimately, truth is subjective and is based upon one's own perception. One person can believe wholeheartedly that the earth is round and revolves around the sun, while another can firmly and undoubtedly believe that the earth is flat and the sun rotates around us. And no matter how much proof you provide to the other, one will hold on to their ideals and perceptions until the day that they die. But to truly have an open mind and to seek for the highest truth with all your heart, one must accept all truths and all perceptions. This is what is called enlightenment. I'm sure most of you have heard the truism, all paths can lead up the mountain. The saying goes that everybody begins at the base of the mountain, and any path that you choose can get you to the very top of it. Some may take the trek alone, or with a group of people. Some will carve their own path, while others follow a predefined path that has already been carved out before them. Some like free climbing it, while others prefer a safety harness or rope. But if the ultimate goal for us is to get to the top of this mountain, there would literally be an infinite amount of ways for someone to do it. Some might even get to the plateau and say to themselves, this is it. This is as high as it goes, and settle down there. While others might even give up before they start and are content to stay at the base of it. But for those who make it to the top, the very peak of the mountain are forever changed, because then they can see in all directions around them. They can see which path is the easiest and which takes the most time. Their truth then becomes a higher perspective, more based on knowledge and experience from climbing the mountain and reaching the very top. And when you make it to the top of the mountain, your gaze becomes a full 360 degrees, where you can look out at all of life and creation and see the beauty and majesty that is our world, where you can literally touch the sky, what our ancestors called heaven. You can even look down and see all the other climbers making their way up, and that is when you finally understand that any way up the mountain, however one chooses, is just fine, and you realize progression is the real purpose and true meaning of it all. Just knowing that you made it gives you an ultimate sense of peace that cannot be bought or understood. It is only reserved for the one experiencing it. And this is how I feel about finding purpose amidst all the chaos of this world. One cannot fully explain to another who or what God is. God can only be experienced, just like being at the top of the mountain. Enlightenment cannot be taught, only experienced when you have reached the height of humanity. I had begun my quest for the search of God at a very young age, but it wasn't until I was much older that I finally realized that in all of my searchings for a God, that I was really searching for myself. In all of life's chaos, it was I who mattered in the end. I had grown up in a religion that was very strict, but consequently taught me good lessons on how to live my life with purpose. They had already carved the path up the mountain for me, and it was straight and narrow, but as I got older, I decided to go make my own path. This led me to scouring over the Bible and other dozens of religious and spiritual texts, trying to find all the mysteries of God. It was always the questions that drove me, but what I found were the answers were always hidden inside of me, and after deciphering and decoding every verse and text, I was still not content. I always had more questions. I needed to find out about everything. So I began studying all other religions, even diving deep into New Age material and the occult. I soon found out that all religions basically believe the same thing, but have different ways of explaining it. They all had different names for the exact same thing, and they all held fragments of this ultimate truth, bits and pieces, if you will, that you had to put together yourself, which meant reconciling all the perceived differences between them all. And eventually, I found myself studying mainly only conspiracy theories, while always maintaining that curiosity about how my spirituality fit into all of it. This would be a decade long of going down every rabbit hole that I could find, going deep down until I reached the bottom of each and every one. And after being at the bottom of it all, I began noticing that everything was already connected somehow. Science, spirituality, conspiracy, mathematics, history, religion, it was all connected, from the microcosm to the macrocosm and vice versa. It was like all of these rabbit holes led you down into a world where nothing made any sense, where you had to become mad to even consider its true meaning. Kind of like what it was in Alice in Wonderland, what I like to call Wonderland logic.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
You could say that.
So from this point, I had left all the rabbit holes behind and started piecing together what I had discovered. And I quickly found out that everything I had been learning and searching for began to paint an even bigger picture, a wonderful tapestry of information. I had finally found the truth. It was like if you can imagine a beautiful painting where all of these truths are the colors in the painting, creating something so beautiful and perfect, where when you looked at it all, it would fill you with emotion because you would realize that the universe isn't chaotic at all. It is in surprising synchronization and fantastical symmetry. I believe that this is our true purpose, to learn how to see beyond this world. It is why we are given free will, a desire to create our own destiny, to find one's true meaning, not to find some guy hidden up in the clouds, something that is always out of reach for us. Enlightenment is to truly go within and to realize that the world is simply a mirror, reflecting who we are and what we can become. Most of us refuse to look in that mirror. Some even like to stare at it for far too long, while others even attempt to break it. But to truly look and see yourself in everything, to be one with the world around you and to use the world as your reflection, to see the beauty in all of it is simply divine. And to truly know and experience yourself is to break away from all the indoctrination, the self-doubts, and reservations that have been holding you back, to shed away the layers, almost like a snake shedding its own skin, into your simplest, purest form. This is where you find God. When you have finally collapsed that tower, that illusion that holds your ego, when you have finally decided to take that leap of faith and let yourself fall into nothingness, you will find yourself being lifted up by an unseen hand, being reborn again with a new sense of purpose. This is the power of faith. When you realize that you are nothing is when everything will reveal itself to you. And God is that ultimate question that can only be answered by a sincere search for the self and what self really means individually to you. Who are you really? Do you know? When someone asks you, what do you do? Is it always immediately followed by what society paints you as? You respond, I'm a doctor, or a lawyer, or a dentist, etc. But when someone asks you, who are you really? How would you reply? What would be your answer? I've always thought I knew who I was, but breakdown after breakdown, trial after trial, one tends to lose themselves, at least who they think they are. Sometimes I was even questioning if there was ever a purpose for me. And trust me, I have been down that path many times. I was in a deep, long depression for many years, and I didn't realize it until I started using that mirror to show me who I really was.
Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
This can't be.
Be what? Be real?
But what I didn't realize until much later was that after every trial I had endured and every setback that I became that much stronger. My story became that much more interesting. It was like I was being refined by a hidden hand, like being sculpted by an unseen force, shaping me into what you see before you today. And I think it is only when we are completely surrounded by darkness is when you can really begin to shine. And it was from here, living at rock bottom, is where I learned life's most valuable lessons and how to climb. Let's always remember, no one's struggle is greater or lesser than your own. It is only up to you whether you become greater or lesser from it. And in these videos, I would ask of you to take that leap of faith into the darkness with me, so that ye may know how bright you truly shine. God bless and take care. Hope you guys enjoyed this message. My next video in this series is going to lay the foundation for all the mysteries of God and the secrets of creation, beginning with a code that was found hidden inside the Fibonacci sequence and Metatron's cube. See you again soon, guys.